Alright, let me show you guys what I got here. I got this in the mail a couple days ago. I got this from a friend up in Ohio, Jason Chrisman. He has a YouTube channel, JC's Honeybees, and he's actually going to start manufacturing and selling these cell punch kits for raising queens. So he sent me one basically as a gift to try it out and, just to give it a test and to tell y'all how it works and, if I've had good a good experience with it. So I just kind of want to show you what's in it, tell you what I know about it, what I've got. First off, what I really like with this kit is that he includes directions on how to use it. And these aren't, just plain old written out directions. They're not confusing. I really like his directions. They're very clear, very concise. I mean, step by step. So he starts off and he's going to give you your list of what you get in the kit, which is the cell punch tool itself, a couple of wooden blocks, some starter wax, and of course the complete directions. So just a quick run through the directions. He gives you a little intro about queen performance, why you want to graft what, or why you want to breed the queens you do. Kind of tells you how to pick what queens you're looking for. Goes on from there and gives you directions before you get started. This is very important for those of you that have raised your queens before, or those of you that are thinking about doing it. Once you start grafting or cell punching or anything, working with these delicate larvae, you've got to go fast. So you don't want them to get cold, you don't want them to get dried out. So you want to be ready. So it gives you a list of a couple things that you want to do before you get started. Of course, the first item is have things ready before you start. And then he goes into talk about the actual method of the cell punch. So why you want to do it, kind of how to go about it, just real rough. And then it gives you a list of what you'll need to get started. So you're going to need a light so you can see. You're going to need your queen ring frame, which he doesn't include with this, but you can build your own real easy. I've got a video on how I built one. He's got a video on how to put one together, I think. Nothing fancy about it. And a couple other things you're going to need. Also, the small paintbrush. I did tell him, I recommended that he probably wanted to throw a paintbrush in with the kit. I mean, a little paintbrush that he shows in his videos, maybe worth 50 cents, but it's just one of those things that maybe a lot of people don't have a little paintbrush sitting around, so he just, if you want to make it an all-inclusive kit, maybe throw that in. So then he goes on, you want to have your work area prepared, you want to be ready. You want to be ready to work, so before you start, you want to have everything set up, ready to go. That means you want your punch tool already hot, you want your wax already melted, and you want everything laid out, quick, ready to grab. And then he goes into the getting started. So the first thing you're going to do is prepare your cell bar, and he shows you here how you're going to coat the little wooden blocks with beeswax. You're going to use the beeswax like glue. So instead of having to glue stuff together, you just get a little bit of hot wax, brush it on, and then stick it together, and as it cools, it'll set up and stick. And he shows you how it should look when you glue them on. And then he goes on to the actual method of the cell punch and exactly how to do it. So step-by-step directions going through. I really like this picture that he includes here. This is actually very useful. It shows you the size of the larva, how old the larvae are. And what you're looking for is this 1 day old larva. Really even smaller than that if you can. Ideally, you want them in the first 18, 24, no more than 36 hours that you want to get that larva picked out. So it's cool that he shows that picture so that you can kind of get a reference when you're looking at your frame and you're looking at the different larvae, you know which ones you're after. He goes through and shows, of course, step-by-step directions on how he's actually punching the tool out, pull the tool through, and then on the back page, on the last page, shows you how to actually attach the cell punch to your wooden blocks. And he also includes a good note here that's very important, is that once you take your cell punch, you're going to be targeting just one larva, but you're going to get a couple on the sides by default. And the bees are going to try to rescue those, so you need to actually go through and you need to use a matchstick or a nail or whatever you got to destroy all the larvae except for the ones that you want, because or else you're going to get this bird's nest of queen cells, and you don't want that. I mean, if you just wanted one queen to hatch out of this, and that's all you're after, sure, kill the other, 2 or 3 and leave, 2 or 3 that are still alive. But if you're wanting to actually try to catch and cage each individual queen that you're hatching out, you can't have this mess like this. You want each individual queen cell to be its own unit. And then he just shows a picture of what it's done. And then lastly, he actually gives you a little bit about how to set up your cell starters. So just a couple, real basic things. And again, you can find all the same information online. Jason has a video that shows you exactly all the step-by-step, setting up cell starter, cell finisher, grafting. There's another guy out there, Ohio country boy that has a really good video that I actually used when I grafted my bees. So, and he goes over the same details as far as how to set up your cell starters and cell finishers. So, like I said, it's good that he has these directions, and I wanted to just talk about the directions just because I really like them more than anything. They're very clear, very concise. There's not a whole lot of garbage in there that you don't need. Now for the kit itself, you've got exactly what he said you'd have, of course. I'll just dump it out here so y'all can see it. I can get it out. There it is. Jackpot. Okay, so the first and most important, of course, is your cell punch tool. Now Jason just put this together. There's nothing fancy about it, and of course that's nice. You don't have to worry about breaking anything. The key component is this little steel grommet, or not steel, I believe it's brass, but this little bushing here. That's what's going to be your actual punch out tool. So when you're using this tool, what you're going to do is I'll show you if you're looking for a larva. Imagine that this letter O is the larva that you're after. You're going to take your tool, and it'd be hot in your molten wax, and you put it right down over that letter O, just like that. And that's what you would, you want to center on it and then just punch through. And then the handle is actually small enough, and this is on purpose, the handle's small enough that you punch through, and then you actually pull the entire tool all the way through the frame. And again, Jason has a video, a very detailed video of how to use his tool, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the actual use. But of course this is the tool itself, very simple, nothing fancy. He includes a couple of blocks of beeswax for you to use for your glue, and I really like this because if you don't have your own beeswax, the ability for you to go to Hobby Lobby or somewhere and buy a little scrap of wax like this, you're not going to be able to buy a little bit like this. You're going to have to buy a minimum of a half a pound or a pound, and you're going to pay 10 or 15 bucks for it. So if all you want to do is do this once or twice, just do a couple of queens, you don't need that much beeswax. So he throws that in just so you've got what you need to get started. And then lastly is these little wooden blocks, and these are what he shows in the directions. So you put your hot wax on the back of the block, glue the block to frame, and then you're going to put a little bit of wax on top of that, and then put on your cell punch onto that. So again, the little blocks of wood, you can make your own if you want. These are just little chunks of cedar that he cut out of a piece of scrap wood. So it's no big deal, but it's good that he throws them in because the whole goal is that you want to have everything you need to get started. If you got this thing in the mail, you could work with what you got that day. As for like a little paintbrush, you could use a matchstick or something like that. You could use anything really to transfer a little bit of molten wax. The price on this kit, I believe he said he's going to try to sell them for $23 a piece, and I think that's a really good price from two key standpoints. The first and foremost is if you're going to go buy a new queen's $25. So you can buy a kit that can let you raise infinite queens for $23. It makes the kit very, very affordable. You use this and you graft, he put in 8 blocks here. So that's $200 worth of queens from just what he sends you, for 23 bucks. The other thing on the pricing, the reason I mentioned that I think it's a very good price is because if you were to go try to build this same thing yourself, you go to any, big box store, hardware store, or whatever, this little grommet is going to cost you 50 cents or $1 at least. This little tool, if you could even find the same tool, it'd probably be $2 or $3 at least. What you'd probably end up doing would be having to buy a screwdriver and just file down the end of the screwdriver to solder this together. And like I said, Jason, he mentioned that he actually went out of his way to find this size handle because that's what you have to have so you have a handle small enough to pull through. So again, I mentioned the cost of the wax. It's going to be 10 or 15 bucks. So by the time that you would go and try to build all this yourself, and if you count your time that you'd spend running around all these different stores looking for stuff and shopping online and everything else, you'd certainly be money ahead to buy this kit. So like I said, I'm real excited about it. I'm going to give it a run here just as soon as the weather warms up a little bit more. I spotted drone larva already in a hive the other day, so I'm really getting excited. My goal is to be grafting, or not grafting, but cell punching and raising queens by the middle of this month, if not the end. So like I said, just want to talk a little bit about this. Just wanted to do a little review for you guys on how, everything that you get with the kit. I really like it. It ships real cheap and just a, padded envelope, so you're not getting big messy things. And really, you can just use the envelope to keep the stuff in from here on out if you want. So like I said, if you have questions, you can ask me. But most likely, what you'd be better off to do would just be to go to Jason's channel and send him a message. I'll put a link at the end of this video and probably in the comments below as well, it'll take you directly to Jason's video on how to use this kit. And then, of course, from that video, you can get to his page itself, so you can reach out to him if you have questions.